Welpity-doo-dah day, it's chapter 14. That was weird, wasn't it? Chapter 14 of My Teacher Fried My Brains, which is the second book in the 4-part series of My Teacher is an Alien. By Bruce Coville. Guys, I'm saying Coville. Am I saying it right? In the comments. Am I saying it right? Also, put your book requests in the comments. If there's a book that you want to hear, or if there's a book that you don't have access to, and you just want to read it anyways, just tell me what it is so then I can make an audiobook of it so that you don't have to buy or / get the book from the library. Also, make sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Okay, chapter 14 is called Invisible Information. Let's just get on started, shall we? I didn't get much sleep that night. Every time I moved my head, I got a different kind of music playing inside it. Finally, I found a station that played truly boring elevator music that should have put me to sleep almost instantly. It probably would have if I hadn't been so terrified about what I had done to myself. Lying in bed while elevator music plays endlessly in your head and you sweat with fear about what you've done to yourself, that's about as bad as life can get. At least that was what I thought at the time. The next day, I realized that I was wrong. I had forgotten about TV. It started shortly after home economics class, when I closed my eyes and found myself watching a rerun of the Donna Reed show. You might think having a TV receiver in your brain sounds like fun. Believe me, it's not. For one thing, I couldn't turn it off. The shows were always there. If you think about how smart I had become and how stupid most television is, you'll see how painful this was for me. I had read enough by this time to guess what was going on. To understand, you have to start by realizing that the air around us is filled with invisible information. For a moment. Oh no. Yeah, just information. That may seem weird, but it's true. Think about it for a moment. Whenever you smell something, you're pulling information out of the air. When you hear something, you're pulling information out of the air. What are you smelling? What are you hearing? You may be able to see the object, but you can't see the smell itself. It travels to you in the form of incredibly tiny molecules. The sound comes to you in waves of vibration moving through the air. Invisible information. The thing is, we know how to interpret that information. Our noses and our ears take the molecules or the sound waves and translate them so that we can say, ah, rotting fish, or squealing tires. Now we know that we don't take in all the information around us. For example, our noses aren't built to process smells the way a bloodhound's can. When a bloodhound tracks someone down by following their smell, it's using invisible information we could use too, if only we could perceive it. Now think about your radio. You turn it on, and you get instant music, or news, or idiotic disc jockey chatter, or whatever. Where is the music coming from? Inside the radio? That would be true if you were playing a tape or a compact disc, CD. But when you turn on the radio, it pulls the music out of the air. The music was there all along, you just couldn't get at it. The same is true for the TV set. You turn it on, and bang, sound and pictures both. And where are they coming from? Unless you're playing your VCR or DVD player, they're coming from radio waves that the television pulls out of the air. Those same kind of waves are passing through your head all the time. Right now, even as you read these words, an incredible amount of information is passing right through your skull. Actually, it doesn't pass right through your skull. Or maybe it does. Right now, oh no, I already read that. Broadcast waves from 4 or 5 television stations, a dozen kinds of music, news reports, police calls, CB radio chatter, they're all passing through your brain right now. If you could perceive them, if your brain could interpret them the same way it does sight and sound and smells, then you could pull the information right out of the air. It's there, your brain just doesn't know how to find it. My ultra-powerful brain had learned how to receive that information. The problem was I couldn't turn it off. What made things worse was that I couldn't sort it out. The images all blurred together. When I closed my eyes, I might hear 2 or 3 radio stations while I watched Scooby-Doo chase Pee-wee Herman across the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. I figured another day or 2 of this and I would go mad. As it was, I couldn't think. The reputation I had started to get for being smart was going to dissolve pretty fast. People had spent years thinking of me as stupid and a couple of weeks thinking of me as smart. If it all ended now, they would figure the smart had been just a mistake. It wouldn't take long for them to forget it altogether. I had had my temper under control for the last several days, but with all this going on in my head, with the constant noise and confusion and my own terror at what I had done to myself, I wasn't able to control things as well. So that afternoon, when Mr. Black asked me the kind of question I should have been able to answer in a flash, I couldn't come near the solution. Come, Duncan, he said. Pay attention. You know what this is all about. All about? Why did I say that again? How do you know what I know? I shouted. Until 2 weeks ago, you thought I was a total jerk. Mr. Black was so surprised he dropped his chalk. It shattered into a dozen pieces. I closed my eyes, waiting for him to tell me to go to the man catcher. To my surprise, he said, Are you feeling all right, Duncan? Would you like to go see the nurse? I forgot what I did in the past episodes for his accent. I blinked. There was something important going on here, but between the fact that my head was picking up the dating game and the violin concert by Mozart, I couldn't quite figure it out. Duncan, I asked if you want to go see the nurse. I shook my head. I didn't think the nurse could help. An electrician might do some good, if he or she could install an on and off switch and a volume knob somewhere on the back of my neck. I'll be all right, I muttered, which was the first lie I had told in several days. Sorry, I yelled. Mr. Black shrugged. Sometimes these things happen. I lost my temper again that night at home, when Patrick said, Hey, Duncan, how come you don't have your nose stuck in a book tonight? Decide to go to get normal for a while? I told him to shut up. He hit me in the head. I announced that I had had enough of him, and I was going to run away from home. I didn't mean it, of course. But when things get this way, sometimes you say things you don't mean. I had a good night's sleep since this started. Oh no, I hadn't had a good sleep since this started. That night, when I lay down in bed and I closed my eyes, I saw Humphrey Bogart kissing John Wayne's horse while Edmund McMahon was trying to sell dog food to Attila the Hun. In the background, I was getting a mixture of Lawrence Welk and a rap group called Stinking Pond Scum. I thought I was going to scream. Then it all disappeared. Duncan, said a voice in my head. Duncan, can you hear me? It was Peter Thompson. I can hear you, I whispered. Duncan, he repeated. Can you hear me? He sounded desperate. Where are you? I whispered. But he was gone. The radio and the TV programs came pouring back into my head. I wondered if I was losing my mind. I had to talk to somebody. I wished I could call Susan, but it was too late. Her family would be asleep, and her parents would never let her be on the line at that hour. I got up and wrote a note. Susan, I have to talk to you. This is urgent. I am sorry about the National Sun article and everything else. Please talk to me today for after school. Duncan. The next morning, I stuffed the note in her locker. I just said that. That day was the worst day yet. I couldn't concentrate at all. I broke a bowl in home economics, and then yelled at Miss K. I'm gonna say Miss K instead of Miss Carplou because I don't know what it is. When she tried to ask if I was all right, I felt terrible. I felt even worse when I found out that Susan was homesick that day. Now what was I going to do? I had to talk to someone. Finally, I asked Miss Carplou if I could see her after school. I didn't really think she could help me. She was too ditzy. But she might be able to think of someone who could help me. And I had a feeling that at least she would believe me. After the last bell, I went to Miss Carpew's room. She was fiddling around with something in the test kitchen when I got there. That was fine. That area was really private, and I didn't want anyone to overhear us, especially not Andromeda Jones. Miss Carpew looked up when she heard me coming in. Hello, Duncan, she called cheerfully. Come on back. I closed the door and walked back to where she was working, trying to shut out the whining violin music that was running through my head. I'm sorry about yelling this morning, I said once I was standing next to her. Miss Carpoo shook her head. Don't worry about it, Duncan. I didn't take it personally. I tried to smile, if only the violin would shut up. Miss Carpoo, I said, trying not to cry, I have to talk to someone. I have to tell someone what is happening to me. Only it's so unbelievable, I'm afraid you're going to think it's crazy. She shook her head. I'll believe you, Duncan, I promise. Then she pointed her wooden spoon at me and twisted the handle. My body seemed to lock in place. How could I have been so stupid? I thought. Frozen not with fear, but by some alien technology, I watched in horror as a ditzy little Betty Lou Carpoo grabbed her chin and began to peel off her face. I guess Miss Carpoo is the alien and not Andromeda Jones, or maybe there's two? Oh my goodness, what's happening? You have to find out in the next episode. You know what to do, like, share, subscribe, put your book requests in the comments and all that.